Yeah, okay, go ahead, drop it. Power panel. Jake Huger, John Iadarola, and a galaxy brain. Ben Carolla, of course, his show, Galaxy Brain, is on our network, not a big deal, on Twitch, twitch.tv/TYT at Friday at 4 p.m. Wait a minute, 4 p.m. Eastern. Okay. Okay, so guys, we have a fun show ahead for you all. Will we yell at some Democrats? Sure. Will we go after Republicans? Sure. But look, there's 17 super fun stories in today's show. But my favorite is, you remember General Mike Flynn, the former national security advisor for Donald Trump, current lunatic? He pledged allegiance to QAnon. QAnon has turned on him. You're gonna love why. You're gonna love that story. You're gonna love it. We do a fun program here. And Ben, I hope that Galactus does not eat your galaxy brain. But hey, you guys aren't the only nerds around here, okay?
Clearly.
Okay. John Iadarola has the news. That's the rumor on the street.
I do. I planted it though. Anyway, that's how you build press. You make it yourself. Stop everything that you're doing. We've got a controversy, everybody. Joe Manchin is making a whole big thing. His face, his hands coming together at last. Take a look. Look at this image, and you tell me how frustrated it's gonna come up. Hey, look how frustrated he is with Democratic leadership. He has to, and totally without knowing the camera's on him, put his face in his hands. Well, what could Schumer have possibly said that made this very reasonable, respectable, moderate Democrat do that? Well, let's take a look at Schumer.
Leader McConnell and Senate Republicans insisted they wanted a solution to the debt ceiling, but said Democrats must raise it alone by going through a drawn-out, convoluted, and risky reconciliation process. That was simply unacceptable to my caucus. And yesterday, Senate Republicans finally realized that their obstruction was not going to work. I very much thank my Democratic colleagues for showing our unity in solving this Republican-manufactured crisis.
Okay, so Chuck Schumer was talking about the difficulty in raising the debt limit. They've been going through all these needless maneuvers, and that was all it took for Joe Manchin. Manchin also apparently told Schumer his speech was, quote, effing stupid. Now, Cenk, you've been covering politics for quite a few years where Chuck Schumer was in charge, or a notable figure. I imagine he's probably made you want to put your face in your hands many times. Would that tidbit of video, would that have hit the top 50 most face in the hands moments? What is this? Yeah. What is this stupid nonsense?
All right, so I figured it out, don't worry. Okay, so we've solved this. All right, there's a really important substantive thing that we're gonna get to here in a minute, but first the theatrics. Is that Joe Manchin's seat? I've never seen him behind Schumer or anyone giving a speech in that seat before. It almost appeared like he sat in that seat to be in the camera shot. And by the way, he said it in a part of the Schumer speech where Schumer wasn't even saying mildly critical things. And it seemed like, and I watched the whole thing, Manchin was getting ready to do it, and then a senator next to him started talking to him, and he's jibber-jabbering, and he's like this. He's like, wait, I gotta do something for the camera, but okay, blah, blah, blah. And then when Schumer comes up and he's like, and today is Friday, and he's like, oh! It's actually Thursday when he made the speech. That's such theatrics. Get out of here with that, Joe Manchin. Okay, go back on your Manchin yacht. All right, so, but the effing stupid thing, I actually don't mind. What I find to be more amusing and annoying is afterwards Manchin said it was not appropriate to criticize Republicans. And he said that you can't be playing politics with this. Oh, come on, dude. Come on, dude, we're this far in. And you're gonna say that you shouldn't play politics? The whole thing's politics. First of all, you're in a big giant political chamber called Congress.
Yeah.
Like your job is politician. And I got news for you. The Republicans saying that they won't raise the debt ceiling now that we have a Democratic president, but they raised it under Trump without any hesitation. That's playing politics.
No.
And Joe, if you don't know, seriously, like that's the thing, guys. If Manchin doesn't know that that's playing politics, obviously he should retire. He's senile, etc. If he's messing with you guys on purpose and is like a wild liar, like, oh golly gee, I found politics around here. I'm so disgruntled by it. Politics. Now, come on, guys, dude. Okay, so Republicans play politics. Democrats don't want to do it. They play politics back. Of course. So, meanwhile, Republicans continue to rip the face off of Democrats. McConnell said horrible things on this issue, let alone every other issue. But Manchin can't seem to find a way to get outraged by that. But when his beloved Republican colleagues are chastised so mildly by Schumer, he barely said anything, right? Manchin's like, like a very aggressive facepalm, right? Yeah. So I got more on this, including why they're having this fight in the first place, because it seemed to make no sense until I solved it today. But let's go to Galaxy Brain.
Yeah, I mean, there's two big myths that Joe Manchin is desperate to keep alive with this. The first is that there's some sort of magical definition of what is politics and what isn't. I mean, literally, the food you put on your table is politics because the government subsidies it took to make that happen. And then there's the other big myth that is that the government has to manage a budget like the same way you would manage a budget. When in actuality, all the government does is manage inflation versus money creation, which is a completely different calculus. But they like to keep up these lies because they want to define the political discourse to say, no, you can't attack anybody on the right. If you say that like eating cheeseburgers isn't great, then you're un-American. And if you criticize Republicans, you're un-American. But that's political. You can't do that. This is very controversial of you. How dare you? But if you say, oh, those radical left, they want things like, dental care or whatever, then that's all, that you can criticize that direction all you want. And they're both deeply related because, I mean, it's just like the military spending. There's never a discussion about whether or not that's going to bankrupt us, but somehow magically, just a little bit of food stamps that people get around the country, that's what's going to magically bankrupt the country. And yeah, really, it's just theater from Manchin to keep up those two sort of foundational lies that define Washington today.
Yeah, and it just seems like he wants to, and I don't know that it's gonna be successful. Like we're talking about it, maybe someone in West Virginia will see it. I don't know if it's gonna make big press in West Virginia, but he wants to demonstrate to those people that he's just sick of the pointless bickering back and forth. These Republicans and Democrats not delivering for the American people, and that is what's happening. It's not because of Schumer's speech. Obviously, you already pointed out, the Republicans were fine with increasing the debt limit before, far more under Trump. They're not doing it now because they want the Democrats to look dysfunctional. That's the only reason. And so he wants to send a signal to West Virginia that he's not a part of that. He's frustrated with it the same way that regular people are probably frustrated. But on a far more substantive area, which is the reconciliation bill, he's doing that. It has bipartisan support. Regular Republicans and Democrats both like many of the provisions of that bill. A president was elected campaigning on it, and he's doing the obstruction, the same exact sort of obstruction that he's doing this performative thing to pretend that he's against now, but on an area where it matters far more for regular people. Assuming that the debt limit is raised, and most people think that it will be raised in the end, that's sort of that's just a sideshow to what the most important thing of the year, which is the passing of the infrastructure bill. But everybody wants to get in on it. We've got, let's see, Senator Roy Blunt saying he heard a number of people on the Senate floor calling Schumer's speech counterproductive. And Senator Rob Portman said Schumer's remarks were unnecessarily partisan. Mitch McConnell has spent this presidency and the last presidency saying, I will literally stop anything from happening to make him a failure. But this is unnecessarily partisan What did Schumer say? Honestly, how many speeches do we watch every day? He didn't say anything. That was totally fine. I'm meaner to Brett during the breaks than Schumer was to McConnell right there.
Yeah.
They're all like, this is so pretend. Why are you being such babies?
No, John, you're exactly right about it being pretend. And so the real culprits here are the media that play along with this insanity. The Republicans complaining about unnecessarily partisan. Why are we having this conversation? The Republicans are pretending that their feelings got hurt by what the Democrats said about them. Why are we having this conversation? I'm going to use such a weird old school reference here, but it's like the Detroit Pistons complaining that Michael Jordan fouls them too much. Like, no, you guys are known for fouling him, and we all see it. You're smashing him to the ground. You're nearly body slamming him. And I go, oh, can you believe what Jordan's doing to us?
I was going to use that reference if you didn't.
Hey, I'll use another reference. The last fight I was in, where I got my ass kicked many years ago. I've told it to the members before. Sign up, tyt.com/Jordan. And the guy punched my face about 7 times. I finally get him in a headlock, and I'm like, okay, I got you. And he starts yelling, why are you grabbing me? Because you punched me in the face 7 times, right? So it's so obvious. I love that laugh of Ben's. Okay, it's so obvious. But Manu Raju and all the other reporters are going around, it turns out the Republicans are outraged that Schumer said something inappropriate. Now look, here, you heard what Schumer said earlier. I'm gonna read you McConnell's quote. And this is the mildest quote there is from McConnell, but you'll see it's already way worse than what Schumer said. McConnell said, alternatively, Democrats abandoned their efforts to ram through another historically reckless taxing and spending spree that will hurt families and help China. A more traditional bipartisan governing conversation could be possible.
It's nonsense.
John, not only is every part of that nonsense, but it is so much more vitriolic, so much more conspiratorial and insane. It's 10x of anything Schumer said, but Manchin looks at that and goes, attaboy. Now, I want to remind you guys, Manchin is theoretically a Democrat. So when Republicans say terrible things about Democrats, pat on the back. When a Democrat does the mildest criticism of the Republicans, Manchin's like, like it is so, okay, now to the substance. Look, if you're not familiar with like the minutia of politics, what they're dead saying, what is this thing, right? It's money we already spent and we got to pay it. And there's this artificial ceiling for no goddamn reason. It happens to be in the law. They should get rid of it immediately, but they don't. They play these stupid games. And if you don't raise it, well, then we go past it and we don't pay the debts we already accrued. By the way, Trump added $8 trillion to the deficit under his watch. Now he says, don't pay it. Just don't pay it, right? Because he's a bum. That's who Trump is. Anyway, and the Republicans are like, if you don't pay it, the whole economy crashes because the dollar loses full faith and credit, and it affects the entire global economy. I mean, this is financial nuclear brinksmanship, okay? And it is 100% unnecessary. It's only done for politics by the Republicans, the Democrats. Now, a lot of times they'll flip after each election. Democrats will do the same hypocrisy as the Republicans, and we point it out here all the time. Not on this one. No, the Democrats never did this. Never, ever, ever. They didn't do it under Trump. They didn't do it under Bush. This is purely Republicans saying, oh yeah, maybe we could crash the economy under the Democrats. Then all the Americans suffer, and then we'll blame it on Biden and Schumer, right? And Manchin pretends to get upset at Schumer? No. Okay, so final thing, and this is the important one. For the whole week, every time we cover the story, I was like, I don't get it. Why don't the Democrats just pass it through reconciliation, right? Because they can. It's another obscure thing where you could pass it without needing to get past the Republican filibuster, right? And I found out why today. Had to dig around a lot, but it turns out there's a rule I didn't know before. You can only do 3 reconciliation bills a year. So if they use one up totally unnecessarily on the debt limit, they might not be able to pass other giant priorities like that $3.5 trillion Build Back Better bill.
Do you think McConnell knows that?
I'm pretty sure McConnell knew it before I did.
That's a game changer.
And by the way, the other guy who wants the Democrats to use reconciliation and why we're having this fight in the first place, because if Democrats had all the Democrats on their side, there's a lot of other things they can do. No, Manchin agrees with McConnell and he says Democrats i.e. theoretically my own party, use up one of your 3 strikes so we can't get anything else passed because my corporate owners told me that I should work with the Republicans in totally destroying Joe Biden's agenda, the Democratic agenda, while pretending to be aggrieved at people playing politics. This is why people despise politicians.
Yeah.
By the way, did you see any of that in the mainstream media? Did you see any of that explanation? Every article I read, everything I watched is, oh, Manchin is concerned. Schumer is playing politics. Schumer was so mean to Republicans. Republicans are outraged at how terrible Democrats are. Every article, no one ever explains what the hell's going on. It's amazing how terrible the so-called journalists in our country are. They are part of the people who lie to you, so you never find out the games that are actually being played.
Exactly. Even assuming that these people have regular human emotions. Have you looked into their eyes? There's nothing there. Journalists and politicians both. Okay, well, we do have the product of one good journalist. Why don't we turn to that now, actually? Or actually, you want to do the full? Okay, that was really gonna go well together. Anyway, we have an amazing little scoop from Ken Klippenstein that we're gonna get to. But first, our first break. We'll be back after this. Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one. Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to big pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor, or concern for whose toes we might step on, or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it. How in the world are you going to get the right to vote if you don't already have the right to vote? That's impossible. Reason they tell you things are impossible is because they don't want you to try. It only took 7 years for that to get an amendment to get a right to vote.
Does this result in millions upon millions of Americans losing their coverage? And we've been waiting to find out, and now we know, yes, it will cut millions.
Public education was supposed to be the way to equalize everyone regardless of their socioeconomic status. But if you come from a family that's poor, how are you going to afford grade school for your kids?
This fight is about fairness and morality. It's about the American values.
You think that black people all across the country, in every city, were all lying when they said the police abuse and the police kill us when they should? No, of course they weren't lying. Yes, it does happen. Yes, they do get targeted more.
Why are we going to put immigrants in prison for 5 years, which American taxpayers have to pay for, if we're so concerned with immigrants using up our so-called resources?
We're gonna do both. We're gonna fight Trump and we're gonna fight the establishment. It is not that hard. Yes, you can do both at the same time. Go tell them. ShopTYT.com has new shirts like this one. And you're thinking,
Cenk, what is that one? I can't see it other than the black. Yes, so I'll show it to you. If you can read this, you're not practicing social distancing. Yes! Now, you were practicing social distancing. This is over video. But overall, you get it. ShopTYT.com.
Back on TYT, Cenk, John, and Ben with you guys. John's got news.
Okay, let's do it. We started off this week with Senator Sinema being protested while teaching a course at ASU. Now, at the time, we knew that she was teaching a course in the School of Social Work, which I found to be incredibly ironic. But thankfully, some journalists started digging to find out a little bit more about the course that she was teaching. And Ken Klippenstein of The Intercept was able to get her syllabus. And it turns out that she's teaching a course on, and I swear, unless Ken Klippenstein is trolling us, and he is known to do that, getting rich people to give you money. The course, titled Developing Grants and Fundraising, is one of 2 classes Sinema is teaching this fall at Arizona State University School of Social Work. The syllabus says students will, quote, learn diverse fundraising strategies for nonprofits, as well as how to cultivate donors, and then how to pay them back while telling your constituents to go after themselves. It doesn't say that, but it's probably in the subtext. Including large individual donors, her favorite type, by leveraging resources like opportunistic fundraising, finding supporters for major fundraising events, and also, quote, asking for money, which, yeah, I guess that's a core part of it. The outline identifies key course concepts that you'll have to learn, like corporate giving, political strategy, influence and power, as well as more socially conscious terms like discrimination, oppression, and privilege. And the way that it's organized is those last 3 concepts you use in your campaign ads while you're running for office, then you forget about those and you focus on the influence and power for the remainder of your term. I think. I haven't read the full syllabus, but I think that's the way that it goes. Anyway, very glad that Ken was able to get access to this syllabus. A spokesperson for the center did not respond to a request for comment. Of course, I mean, that's their brand, is not responding to requests for comment. But I saw, when I saw this story, Cenk, I figured you'd probably get a kick out of it.
Oh my God, it's like the funniest thing ever. Leave it to Ken to find a story like this. Megan, our member section, said Kenny Clips, the legend. Of course, Kenny Clips used to work here, and Intercept's a great outlet. And I love that they bothered to actually look, hey, what is she teaching? Because there was, of course, the controversy around her being taped in a bathroom, and that was at this college where she was teaching a course and she ran in and out. Okay, so now here comes the fun parts. Number 1, to be fair to Sinema, and I'm going to be fair to her in 2 different ways. No, she is a subject matter expert here. If you're looking for someone who's good at raising money and can teach kids how to suck up to rich people to raise money, I don't know that I would suggest anyone that's better at it than Sinema. And especially when you sprinkle in, or since I'm Turkish, I can do the Salt Bay thing. When you sprinkle in the disdain for your voters, I don't know if that's part of the curriculum, okay? But that's gonna be point number 2. Yeah, she's great at it. She knows exactly how to raise money in 1,000 different ways. My favorite one out of all of those, other than just asking for money. I like that was a quote, direct quote. Here's how you ask for money, give me money. Okay, no, my favorite was opportunistic fundraising, which pretty much describes Sinema's entire career.
Yeah.
Okay, but now also to be fair to Sinema, so if anybody's gonna teach that course, it should be her. Secondarily, guys, think about it. She's actually doing something rational, and she's surprised that anybody's calling her out on it, because no one's ever called her out, or really any other politician out. She actually probably feels put upon, and I'm sure she does, that she feels the victim, and that she feels like, what, everybody's been doing this for decades and now I'm the bad guy? So what did she do? If you want to attain power in politics in America, this is a stone cold fact. The first thing you have to do is pretend to be progressive so that people vote for you, because everyone knows in politics, they never tell you and the media never tells you, but in politics, they know for a fact that the voters are very, very progressive. Even Mitch McConnell, in his second to last election, right, the last 2 weeks of the election, ran ads saying how much he was in favor of Kentucky's version of Obamacare. He tried to kill Obamacare with every part of his being, right? Then right as people are about to vote, he's like, now remember good people of Kentucky, I'm trying to get you health care just like Obama. Now that's not remotely true, but even McConnell knows he's got to lie and pretend to be progressive. So that's what Sinema did. When she was coming up and she was a nobody, she's like, oh, she's the most progressive person you ever met. And oh my God, I'm gonna fight for LGBTQ rights. I'm in that community. My God, we gotta get healthcare. This is unbelievable. She did that all the way through 2018. We can go on and on. She was very progressive. I remember progressives being excited about Sinema as she was rising up through the ranks, right?
Yes.
And then once you establish yourself, you go to step 2. Which is you then go to corporations and go, give me all the money, I'll do whatever you want. And that famous vote where she does the thumbs down was to kill higher wages for American workers. And right after that, she went to a fundraiser, which I don't know if she teaches it in her course, but after she went and voted no, she went to a fundraiser for the National Restaurant Association that was trying to kill a higher minimum wage, which she voted down right there, and said, give me the money, give me the money. And they're like, oh, bravo, well done, well done. They were all thumbs up to her and then gave her the money. Why? You take that money, why do you take it? So you can run deceptive ads for the rest of time and overpower everyone else in the race, because let's say you have an actual progressive against Sinema. It looks like she's gonna get an excellent primary challenger soon, but he's not gonna have a lot of money. So he's gonna say, I'm actually progressive, and no one's gonna hear it. And Kristen Sinema's gonna run 10, 20, $40 million in ads, pretending to be progressive again so she can trick you guys and lie to you. But the only reason why any of this works is because there are no refs. The media is supposed to be the refs and go, what she's saying is actually not true. But they never say that because they're too busy kissing the ass of the powerful. That's why, and a third way of being quote unquote fair to Sinema, she's going, the press has never called anyone corrupt before. They never talk about our corporate donors. Why are they violating the rules? The rules are we rob you and we serve corporations and we lie to you with the money that they gave us so we can stay in power and they can continue to rob you blind. Why is the corporate media all of a sudden breaking the rules? Well, you're not very bright. The reason they're breaking the rules is because they're basically run by Democratic leadership. And now you're defying Democratic leadership. So Democratic leadership in the form of Biden, Schumer, Pelosi, et cetera, have said, it's okay. This is all de facto. There's no memos, there's no conspiracy. This is all groupthink. But since she's opposed to Democratic leadership, the press, the editors at all these different places have gotten a green light to criticize her.
Except Axios.
Axios, of course, did not get that memo. They're still writing articles about how she's a legendary accountant and the servant of the people.
Greta Garbo of Congress.
Yeah, so that's how this game is played. And by the way, also why she teaches that course. I mean, you should, if you had a functioning press in any country, no sitting politician would teach a course on bribery. That's what she's doing to young students. And by the way, she's not wrong. That is our system. And if they want to be successful politicians, they have to take bribes just like her. There's no media. There's no media calling out any of it. And by the way, this story is from The Intercept, and we're covering it. Is it going to get covered everywhere else? Can you believe Sinema's teaching a course on bribery? That will be said on television 0 times.
Mehdi Hassan might.
Mehdi Hassan, if he's actually on TV, I can't quite figure out if he's on TV or not. Whatever TV is. All right, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at her attitude, like she's excited, she's giddy. Like she is walking around like she just discovered like the full court press. Like she was the first person to be like, wait a minute, like we can just, we'll just go full court press. Like why do we have to go to our side to play defense? Let's just play defense over there, right? She's literally just playing the game at its most aggressive form and sort of surprised that anybody is calling her out on it. And it's so shameless because, I mean, and here, I'll make a prediction, right? There's a lot of predictions that have been made here on the Young Turks before, so I'll make one, right? Whoever runs against Kyrsten Sinema, there's almost certainly gonna be an ad funded by a super PAC or something claiming that Kyrsten Sinema's opponent opposes Medicare for all. Whether it's true or not, there's gonna be some sort of ad saying, oh, look they're not progressive enough. They're not as progressive as Kyrsten Sinema, right? That's gonna happen. And I think there's also some irony in her teaching a class on power, because like we all see like the shameless use of power for self-interest, like what Kyrsten Sinema's doing. But I think the person that should be teaching, right, if there's anybody in Congress that should be teaching a class on power, it should be Cori Bush. Cori Bush slept on the Capitol steps and used her power to bully Joe Biden into extending the eviction moratorium. That's who should be teaching a class on power, because that's how you want to see people use their power.
Yeah, 100%. I'm gonna say one last thing here, guys, because I don't want you guys to get tricked by the right-wing sleight of hand by people like Ben Shapiro. Because the Sinemas and the Shapiros of the world, yes, theoretically one is Republican, another one's Democrat, but really, how can you tell? Right? They both serve corporate masters, it's the same thing. But Shapiro will say, oh, well, I mean, of course you can have a class on fundraising. Well, if you're a nonprofit, okay, there's some logic in that. If you're a business, there's tons of logic in that. I mean, how are you gonna get anything without it getting an investment, fundraising? That's the business 101. You just literally can't do it without it. But wait a minute, if you're a politician, who are you raising money from? And what are you doing in return? That's different. You're not running a business and you're not running a nonprofit. You're raising money for your own campaigns and millions of dollars at a time, and you're raising it from giant corporations that must maximize profit. They spend every dollar they have to maximize profit. So by definition, you're saying you're going to do them favors. And the second time they give you money, by the way, that means they got a return on investment. And so they think, oh, Kyrsten Sinema has been an excellent purchase for our corporation, so we are going to repurchase her, and we continue to make a lot of money off of her corruption. You can teach it. I took a class on how to raise money in business school. Taking a class on how to raise money from corporations as a politician is a class on bribery.
Yeah.
Period.
That's all, and it's very easy to see here. So if you'd like more information about the course, you can go to The Intercept for Ken Klippenstein's piece. David Sirota on the Daily Poster has a great breakdown of the fundraising that she has done, especially in recent months. Like she's been supported by a lot of these industries for a long time, but some of the industries, including Big Pharma, have just flooded her with money recently. And she used to tweet about things that were very supportive of things that are in this reconciliation bill, and now all of a sudden they're huge stumbling blocks for her. It's weird how that works out.
I gotta say one last thing.
I knew I was treading in dangerous territory.
You knew it.
I didn't read the graphics. I thought a vague aside would slip through, but.
All right, no, seriously, guys, if you didn't see it from earlier, she just raised $920,000 from her corporate donors. And she raised a giant amount of money from drug companies. And her new position is, you should pay higher prices for drugs. That we should do nothing in the bill that would lower drug prices. If that isn't bribery, then there is no such thing as bribery. Yet none of the major media organizations call it what it is, and you gotta wonder why.
Yeah, it's marching to the beat of your own drum.
All of them at the same time.
Called it. Anyway.
While they all have drug company ads running to the tune of millions of dollars.
Exactly. Okay, let's switch things up. Apologies in advance. Almost healthy once again. We'll see if that happens by Monday. Okay, let's talk about something very different. The Senate Judiciary Committee has released an interim report revealing the incredible full court press, we'll say, we're making sports analogies on the show today, of Donald Trump to have the DOJ overturn the results of the election between the election in November and the insurrection on January 6th, and involved a lot of players, including some who, at least in my perception, largely made it through this period without seeming to have gotten very dirty. So let's see. We have from the day former Attorney General Bill Barr announced his resignation to early January. Trump held at least 9 calls or in-person meetings with senior DOJ officials in which he directly and repeatedly asked them to, quote, initiate investigations, file lawsuits on his behalf, and publicly declare the 2020 election corrupt. And some of the specific things he wanted done include replacing the acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen with Jeffrey Clark, who devised a strategy with the president for the DOJ to intervene in Georgia's appointment of presidential electors and to use this model in other states. Rosen and then acting Deputy Attorney General Richard Donahue, however, rejected Clark's proposal, with the idea being that they were going to have the DOJ release an official pronouncement that the election's a big old fat phony and that the individual states justify just enough coincidentally to make Trump the winner, should have their own slate of electors. Now, what the DOJ has with any of that, I have no idea, but they found it to be compelling. And I believe it was a part of that 6-point plan that the wacko put out a couple of months ago. And then presumably Mike Pence, who has to certify the results, would have then used those now slightly more official slate of electors to say that it's just too difficult. Who knows who actually won? And then, I don't know, there's like 7 other steps, and then Trump becomes president once again. And that was the plan. It didn't work, partially because, as we said, Richard Donahue said no. You also had a number of top members of the DOJ announcing that if any of this happens, they would simultaneously resign. And then that would look horrible, and presumably they would talk to the press about that. And so thankfully, this didn't actually happen, but there were a lot of efforts along the way to do it. We'll get to some more details. One quote from Trump that I believe it might have been Rosen that said this was Trump going to a meeting of all these individuals and saying, "You guys aren't following the internet the way I am." So they didn't understand how necessary this was. But thankfully, it obviously didn't happen. He's not going to be president again. Apologies if that shakes your worldview. But what do you make of this so far?
I don't think this is a fun story, and I think a lot of stories are fun.
I tried to make it fun.
I know, I hear you, and I appreciate that. No, that's what a coup looks like. Now, there's military coups and political coups. So the military coups are when you roll out the tanks. And by the way, they also had a 3-hour meeting about that. Mike Flynn came to the White House. This was reported earlier, and he pitched martial law. Get the military to declare martial law, nullify the election, and then redo the election. And Trump considered that for, and debated it, had everybody debate it for 3 hours. And he was, of course, very much inclined, and everyone else in the room, I think it was Flynn and one other wacko that were arguing for it. And everyone else in the room was like, that would end America. That's not, we don't do military coups, and that's, you would literally roll in tanks and have the military control the country. That's what martial law is. So if you do that, we'll all resign. And so Trump was like, damn it. And so now on this one, this is a political coup. He says Justice Department, that has nothing to do with state elections or how the elections are tabulated at the state level, which is completely a state authority, which, by the way, the right wing theoretically agrees with. States' rights, they conduct their own elections.
And is currently taking over.
Yeah, and so Trump says, no, why doesn't the Justice Department just declare that it was fraudulent? Which ones, how, what do we, wait, what? Why would we say that the elections in Georgia are fraudulent? We have no evidence of that. He said, you don't need evidence. You just say that it's fraudulent. And then there was a quote where he says, me and the Republican congressman will take it from there.
Yeah, and that's totally true. That was the next step. They wanted the DOJ to do it. The DOJ apparently wasn't going to. So they said, just say it's corrupt. Again, cast a pall over it. That was the whole thing with Ukraine. It was supposed to make it seem as if there was all this shadiness that wasn't there. But I also want to make sure that we know that William Barr apparently put pressure on the DOJ to investigate the elections. He didn't go quite as far as Trump, but he said, you need to look into all these elections. Those under him said that there have been investigations. There's no evidence of anything corrupt or shady being done. And he was saying, just do it anyway. And that is not something that I remember being talked about widely back in December and January. And he's gone now. So maybe it seems like a moot point, but William Barr was Trump's man. And at least to some point in this, he did try to get Trump what he wanted.
Yeah, and guys, if they had succeeded at that, I need you to understand there was no part of it that was legal. So the Justice Department cannot overturn Arizona and Georgia's elections. It's not a thing. And when he says, okay, it doesn't matter, just call it corrupt, and me and the Republican congressman will take it from there. What does that mean? Well, that means we're just gonna muck up the process. But wait a minute, Republican congressmen at the federal level can't do anything about a presidential election either. Well, this is then Mike Pence will do something, as John explained to you. But wait, Mike Pence is basically is doing a ceremonial role. He has no legal authority to say a goddamn thing about the election, and I can prove it instantly to you guys, including right-wingers, because otherwise we don't need to have the 2024 election. Kamala Harris could just declare Biden the president, and we're done with it, right?
Well, they'd have to agree with that.
Yeah.
The right wing would definitely agree with you right there.
That's right.
No.
If you say Pence could overturn the election in 2020, then Kamala Harris can overturn it in 2024. That's stone cold fact. There's nothing you could do about that, right? So none of that is real. None of it is legal. So if they were trying to take power in a non-legal way in an election that they lost, that is a goddamn coup. And so if you do a coup against America, that means you've ended our democracy. You've ended our form of government. That is what Donald Trump was definitively trying to do. So there's no debate about Donald Trump. He hates this country. He hates our democracy. And if he ever got elected again, it's over, guys. Next time he's not gonna make those mistakes. He's gonna say, hey, everybody wants to quit. Get the hell out of here. And by the way, the only way he got stopped here is, again, everyone in the room said, including loyalists for years and years, including his White House counsel, including everyone at the Justice Department, except that one lackey. We're like, no, we would all resign instantly because you'd be ending the country. And if he gets a chance again, he's not gonna listen to them. He's gonna end the country. There's no question about it. It's not hyperbole. It's clear, it's in the facts. All right, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely. Like literally this, it's stark how this matches so similarly to what happened in Chile, actually. When Salvador Allende got elected, Richard Nixon had the CIA draft up reports to say, like, how can we stop the election from being certified? And their effort failed. And then later, they literally just did a military coup with Augusto Pinochet. But it is shocking how similar the procedure by which they were trying to do this coup matched to one that the United States had helped orchestrate a long time ago that ended up failing, but then they did another one that ended up succeeding. And that really is where the concern is, right? Salvador Allende thought that he had won when he'd managed to become the president. But that didn't mean that a little bit later, something else could have happened. And people need to understand that Chile was a stable democracy, right? Chile was a stable democracy. This could happen anywhere. And that's what's very, very important, especially when you have a ton of people who are willing to embrace conspiracy theories, because as long as enough people are willing to give any amount of legitimacy to whether it's a person in position of power or a particular like conspiratorial claim, if people are willing to give legitimacy to that in order to justify a coup, then that is a thing that could potentially happen. And I think we're pretty clearly in a spot right now where people are willing to accept nonsense conspiracy theories in the United States.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say a couple more things here. The White House counsel that I referred to supported Trump all throughout, Pat Cipollone. He called Trump's lackey's letter, Clark, the only one at the Justice Department who said, yeah, sure, why don't we do a coup? In essence, right? And he said, yeah, we'll just declare the elections corrupt without any evidence. And Cipollone, the White House counsel, said it was a murder-suicide pact. That's a hell of a quote. What does he mean, murder-suicide? He means you would murder democracy and we would all be killing our political careers and our own country and everything. We would be doing a coup. What do you know? And he's like, no matter how much I've supported Trump, I will quit instantly. And by the way, let's notice a silver lining here. Even some of the worst Trump people, when Trump actually tried to end America, drew a line and said, no, we will resign and say, you're doing a coup if you do that, okay? And that was the only final check on him as he desperately wanted to do that action.
And my final point, they're not gonna be there next time. This is not gonna be a Raffensperger. They're being weeded out. They're gonna have these years, they're gonna have following the midterm election to weed them out. They're not gonna be bringing in people into the DOJ like that potentially would stand up against them. There are a few Republicans who voted to impeach Donald Trump. They're all gonna be primaried out. Like maybe Romney will survive or whatever, he's powerful enough. But they are weeding out those few remaining bulwarks, and we're gonna have to rely on the norms to save us.
John, to your point, a member wrote in earlier in in the week, they didn't get to do a coup against America, although they tried, but they did do a coup of the Republican Party. And so the former leadership is gone. Anyone who dissents with Trump is either gone or going. And so if they win again, it's over. It's not an exaggeration. And anyone telling you, including people pretending to be on the left, that Trump's no big deal, and I can't tell who's better, Trump or Biden, Trump or anyone else. Oh, you guys are overly concerned about Trump. Those people are either completely ignorant or they're some of the worst liars you've ever seen in your life. I mean, how can you see this information about Trump very seriously considering this was also a 3-hour meeting in the White House, debate back and forth, and Trump was not convinced until the very end when everyone threatened to resign, right? And when you see him attempt a political coup and a military coup and have his own extremists say, no, we're not gonna end the country, and you think it's no big deal, apples and I can't tell either or, no, I can tell. Anyone who votes for Trump hates this country. Oh, if you want to cry about it, by the way, I don't care, cry all you want. It's a fact, you should actually do some reading. You should find out what Trump officials are saying. His own guys in the room were like, no, you don't understand how bad it was. And so anyone telling you otherwise is a goddamn liar. All right, we'll be back.
You know, old school's pitched to me from Jank. It'll just be me, you, Jesus, Ben, and maybe Michael. And we're like, okay, cool. I can do that every week. As you can see, me, Jesus, Ben.
When you make the order, it says, don't exceed $20.01. So I'll just order literally anything to get it as close to that as I possibly can.
I'm sorry that I ordered $45 worth of food and got an email saying, sir, would you like to rethink that? What are you talking about?
I was in hell. I was just like, oh my God, the theater's empty, nobody's here. Everyone on screen keeps fucking cursing. Why did I let this happen? And the whole thing looks like it was shot through a glass of milk. My mom's gonna be so mad.
If you're looking for a heart attack, the short way, baby.
Wrong, I did put mayonnaise on it. I'm the most in shape, overweight person you'll find.
That's right.
He was like, why didn't you answer my call? I called you 39 times.
Yuck.
But what makes you stop right before 40? What makes you say, nah, man, I ain't doing that no more. I'm cool.
And I called you back on the air. And I was like, okay, Kevin Smith, big shot. What the you said you'd come on and you didn't come on.
I'm sure I took that very well.
Yeah, you did. You called me back the next day and said, I thought it was 7 a.m. There's now deep fake porn. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
Heard of it? I just had some in the car.
I'll tell you who I'm not fucking, Ben Mankiewicz. Have you guys ever felt that?
Not ever.
And now it's just the three of us.
This is the intimate hour.
By the way, the last half hour of this, we're not even rolling.
Fair enough.
Easily.
See, I watch movies.
I'm done with both of you.
Once Greg starts laughing, I can't stop. And I was just gonna ask you about getting high.
Snoogans, Snoochie Boochies.
And members, of course, you can get the whole damn thing. TYT.com, join and free trial.
I'm old school with the old folks.
Good John, come back.
Get ready for it.
Field goal here. It's time to switch to beer.
Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Do your best.
He's a little like
Oh, no one's happy now.
Give him another try.
Oh, wow.
This is the weirdest game.
I'm Brett. I would like to refer to this segment as the Do I Still Have This Talent show. So I want to see if I can play harmonica without my hands. I don't know why I have that. Nothing's gonna be more impressive than that. I can also spin a basketball on my finger. While drinking. I'm gonna spin a basketball on my finger while drinking apple juice. You can do this, dude. It's also flat. I don't know if that helps or hurts. And it seems to be somewhat wobbly. Ta-da! Nope, I don't know how to do this one. This one's a fail. Nope. Oh God, I'm so mad.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk, John, giant galaxy brain named Ben Carollo. Not only do I like Ben's laugh, I like when he tries to hold in his laugh.
Cenk wins either way.
That's right. All right, John, more news, go.
Okay, let's talk about the news. This last week, there was an oil spill not far from where we're filming this. In Huntington Beach, got hit pretty hard by the oil. And in the wake of that, some consumer advocates and environmental activists are pushing for Governor Gavin Newsom to stop allowing for offshore drilling, especially so close to the coast. In fact, he's been pretty supportive of this industry since taking office. Newsom has dispensed 138 oil permits for operations in state waters, including 5 new drilling permits and 133 permits to perform work on existing offshore wells. The governor has been even more prolific with onshore oil permits, issuing more than 9,000 drilling permits since taking office at the start of 2019. God, I hope he doesn't have to sign those individually. It's so bad that, in fact, more than 2 million Californians live within half a mile of an oil well, while 7 million live within a mile of one. And I can believe that because I literally drive on a street past a bunch of drilling going on. And so he's been supportive, but he certainly wants you to believe that he cares about the climate, and especially in the wake of the spill, that he cares about that as well. And so we want to show you a video. The producer who edited this made the note that he's doing a pretty good Obama impersonation. I think that really comes through.
This is a moment to remind all of us that this does not have to be our future, that we still have to do more. We're going to have to do more. We're doing that on fracking now. We've got to do that in more oversight. We've got to do that on more permits for abandonment, less permits for reworking and for new drilling. We recognize our obligations in that space, health and safety setbacks, all of those things, I assure you, are on the table and very much part of the conversation we're having with renewed sense of urgency because of this latest spill.
Okay, so Gavin Newsom obviously is having to deal with the fact that we just had this spill. The footage looked really bad, and activists are fired up. And of course, you know, he's a guy who has national political aspirations. So if he wants to run as a Democrat, he's supposed to pretend to care about the environment. And so all that's good. But bear in mind that the other side has also been active. In the first quarter of this year, the industry spent more than $4.3 million on lobbying. A significant portion of that was designed to oppose legislation that would bolster the state's progress towards reducing greenhouse gas emissions and impose tighter regulations. In fact, we have 9 companies or associations, each spending more than $100,000 lobbying in this quarter. And so that's a lot of money. They're not spending it thinking it has no chance of succeeding and getting either the state legislature or the governor on their side. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, so first of all, Gavin Newsom is unbearable. I told Brett, who told you, that he's doing an Obama impression.
Oh, okay.
And I wish I hadn't, because I couldn't pay attention to what he was saying because he was so clearly doing an Obama impression. It was distracting, right? I mean, these guys are such bad actors. Their politicians are just people who couldn't get a job in Hollywood, especially out here in California. And like, I can't believe the press can't see through this guy. He's talking about, oh my God, we got to stop it with the permits for drilling. You approved 9,000 of them.
It's the hot dog man meme in real time.
It's unbelievable. And you did 130, I like John's impression there. So you approved 138 offshore drilling permits, and you're complaining about offshore drilling. Well, golly gee, I wish there was something you could do about it. And why does he get away with it? Because he's a corporate Democrat.
Yeah.
And if you're a Democrat, especially in California, the press will let you say anything you want and will never hold you accountable. If you're a progressive, then they'll come for you, okay? There is no more corporate press in the country than California press. So I mean, isn't there a single reporter? We're gonna hire a reporter in California. I can't take it anymore, okay? Because why don't you ask him about the permits he approved? He's approved over 9,000 of them. As he's like, I can't believe that they are doing this. You know what? Who one of his top donors is? Chevron. Of course. Why don't you ask him about Chevron? Why did you take money from Chevron? I mean, just one time, a reporter asked him about PG&E, because PG&E is the energy company that starts all the fires because they won't pay. They didn't pay the money to put the wires underground, so they keep falling in storms and creating these giant, ridiculous fires in California. They're just absolutely disastrous. And not only does Gavin Newsom do nothing about it, he does bailouts of PG&E after every time. You want to know how much money he took from PG&E? $10 million over his career.
Damn.
A reporter once asked him, and he gave him a mansion. He's like, how dare you? What does that mean? What do you mean, how dare you? Let's get real reporters to ask politicians real questions. Okay, by the way, his other giant donor, Blue Cross Blue Shield. And well, look at that. Gavin Newsom's among the Democrats blocking single payer in California. These are all wild coincidences. Okay, I mean, I don't know how a reporter would ever make the connection. Seems outrageous. But his fake acting gets under my skin like nothing else.
Yeah.
When he pretends to be concerned, when he did that stupid, everybody's sick here in California of the trash that's piling up everywhere. And did he actually fix it? No, but he did 2 photo ops of himself in a tight t-shirt, throwing trash heroically, like and he did it for like 5 minutes. And the reporters, instead of saying, what the hell is a stupid photo op for 5 minutes, were like, Gavin Newsom cleans up California. It's absurd, it's absurd. And so, like the recall happened, now he's riding high. He thinks, I won the recall easily. We're not gonna vote for a Republican lunatic Trump supporter in California. God damn it, give us another option. Okay.
I'll run, fine.
Yeah.
Come on, squad, let's make this happen.
All right, let's see what happens. I'm gonna give you what he can do, because there's activists and progressives who actually know what he can do, and it's actually really simple. I'll get to that in a second, but Ben, jump in.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Naomi Klein argued in one of her books that Democrats like this are a huge part of the problem when it comes to climate deniers, because when climate deniers see people like Gavin Newsom talk about how serious climate change is, and then turn around and say, no, you change your light bulbs, but we are not gonna change like what we're doing with these oil companies or anything like that. We can't, no big structural changes, right? Like, how can you go around telling people that we're facing like one of the most existential threats that humanity has ever faced? Literally, global human extinction is like a real mathematical possibility at this point. Yeah. And they're telling people like, you change your light bulbs, but I am not gonna stop taking millions of dollars from oil companies. Like, you can see how right wingers can point to that and then fuel this climate denial. And I think that really is, I think more people need to start blaming people like Gavin Newsom for the existence of climate deniers, because what he's doing is a form of climate denial.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, and it's happening on his watch.
Okay, you were talking about coincidences. I want to give you one last coincidence. I know we don't have much time, but I saw this right before we went live and I thought it was really interesting. So we talked about the lobbying inside of California. They don't want California to do anything more about climate change, but they also don't want the climate change provisions in the infrastructure bill. And so according to federal disclosures, API and its front group Energy Citizens spent more than $2 million in the first half of this year directly lobbying members of Congress. And they spent 7 figures on television advertisements targeting Build Back Better provisions. And I have no idea what direct effect any of that particular lobbying has, or any other donations made by coal companies and stuff like that. All I know is that Kyrsten Sinema, who will not tell you what her problem is with this bill, like, she will not go on the record, suddenly has indicated one thing that she wants to cut: $100 in proposed climate funds, in particular to make some of the socioeconomically weakest communities climate resilient. So the attempts to make them more resistant to the pollution and the climate change and all that, she wants to take away that funding, $100 billion. And what do you know? What do you know?
It's corruption. Just say it. Just say it. It's obvious.
She was a Green Party politician, and it's the climate funds she wants to cut.
Media, it's corporate Democrats that take money from oil companies. It's so obvious. Everyone knows it except you, and it's your job to know it. All right, so by the way, last thing, what do activists and progressives want in California? Joe Sandberg accurately described it here in his tweet. He says, stop waffling, Gavin Newsom. Our state's on fire and our coastline is covered in oil. This is California, for God's sake. Anyway, he continues, the people of California want to know, will you commit to the following? No new fossil fuel permits. We're not even talking about the old ones. That's such an easy one. Just don't give any new ones. Come on, you gotta be able to do that. And oil and gas production, that would be wonderful. There's no way Newsom's gonna do that because he's still taking money from those companies. But yes, that's what the people of California want. And 2,500-foot setbacks. Another one that's really simple. The reason they're not set back is because they're usually in poor neighborhoods. And by the way, African-American neighborhoods and Latino neighborhoods. And so they're like, what, are we gonna set it back just to help Black and Latino people? We're not gonna do that. We're just gonna make money and get a Democrat to come help us. And because if you put a Democratic face on it, then that takes away the criticism. And that's the great trick being played in California by corporate interests and the politicians that they fund.
Yeah.
All right, we got, okay. We ran out of time. We might do an awful racist segment that Conservative hosted in the bonus episode. It's ridiculous. Anyways, the story of Mike Flynn now being turned on by QAnon is hilarious. That's coming up in the next hour. Everybody check out Galaxy Brain. That's a Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/TYT. That's Ben's show. And of course, Damage Report's on every day. So you're checking that out at 1 o'clock Eastern. You're gonna love it. Go. We'll be back in a second.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one.
Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to big pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor, or concern for whose toes we might step on, or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
How in the world are you going to get the right to vote if you don't already have the right to vote? That's impossible. Reason they tell you things are impossible is because they don't want you to try. It only took 7 years for that to get an amendment to get a right to vote.
Does this result in millions upon millions of Americans losing their coverage? And we've been waiting to find out, and now we know, yes, it will cut millions.
Public education was supposed to be the way to equalize everyone regardless of their socioeconomic status. But if you come from a family that's poor, how are you gonna afford grade school for your kids?
This fight is about fairness and morality. It's about the American values.
You think that black people all across the country, in every city, were all lying when they said the police abuse us and the police kill us when they should? No, of course they weren't lying. Yes, it does happen. Yes, they do get targeted more.
Why are we going to put immigrants in prison for 5 years, which American taxpayers have to pay for, if we're so concerned with immigrants using up our so-called resources?
We're gonna do both. We're gonna fight Trump and we're gonna fight the establishment. It is not that hard. Yes, you can do both at the same time. Go tell them.
ShopTYT.com has new shirts like this one. And you're thinking, Cenk, what is that one? I can't see it other than the black. Yes, so I'll show it to you. If you can read this, you're not practicing social distancing. Yes! Now, you were practicing social distancing. This is over video. But overall, you get it. ShopTYT.com.
Drop it. All right, Young Turks Power Panel. J.R. Jackson, Ravana, host of Reactions. Okay, you got to check that out on twitch.tv/TYT, isn't it, Ravana?
I checked it out yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Randomly.
Yes, you did. JR was hanging out in the chat.
Yeah, I hung out in the chat and then I left because I had to do other stuff.
So JR is a huge chit chatter. He was hanging out in the Young Turks chat last night, commenting about his backside.
Hey, I didn't do it. Other people did it, but you know, anytime things like that get us memberships, hey, I'm all on board. You guys need more pictures? I mean, you know.
Okay, no, we're not gonna do that. Okay. Anyways, by the way, check out Reactions Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/TYT. And nice win off for the Rams, so we're appreciating you supporting that. Yes, JR, yes. All right, rock and roll. We got a lot of fun stories in this hour. So, JR, take it away.
An Indiana woman is pleading for a lighter sentence after her conviction for her role and her part in running into the Capitol on January 6th with the rest of her fellow insurrectionists. Now, the reason for her pleas for a lighter sentence have to do with, did you guys know that prisons are overcrowded and they're teeming with COVID? Oh my God, and also, she's unvaccinated. So these are reasons that she's going to. Let's look into some of the court proceedings and some of the things that happened and what her attorney did say about this situation. Let's jump right into it. Her attorney says, simply put, if Ms. Bissy is incarcerated at the DC jail or in the BOP, which has seen 259 inmate deaths and over 43,000 infections from COVID-19, she's extremely likely to suffer severe illness or even death. According to the CDC, if she were to go back, get sick with the virus, she may require hospitalization, intensive care, a ventilator to help her breathe, or she may even die. Certainly, Ms. Bissy has not helped her chances of fighting the virus by remaining unvaccinated. But just as certainly, she does not deserve to die for her bad behavior on January 6th. So that's what our attorney started off by saying. He pointed out the lack of vaccination and also, what we do know about the prisons and how they have all these cases. Now, before you wonder whether or not she's just one of these folks who was also chanting and going to school boards and talking about not to get vaccinated and also not to get masked, they did have reason why she is not vaccinated yet. They continue on. Ms. Bissy maintains that she is unvaccinated because her doctor in Indiana has not advised her to get vaccinated, and she is concerned about what the vaccine may do to her compromised liver. And they go to a link, talk about things that happen there. So I guess it's really up to, again, that's one of the reasons why I think many people need to get vaccinated. There's people who can't. And going on first story, she maybe has a compromised liver. I don't know how much her doctor has said that to her. I don't want to violate her HIPAA rights. So we won't get into all of that. But that is the reason why, at least, that she has been vaccinated. Now, one other aspect of it, in case you really are worried about how Ms. Bissy is feeling, she's also getting shunned in her community. More from this. A sentence of probation with community service and restitution is both just and fair, considering the collateral consequences Ms. Bissy has faced because of her participation in January 6th. Since her arrest in February, she has been chastised on the street and her business is shunned. She had to move her salon following the huge losses from a drop in clientele and because the pandemic made rental space unaffordable. Now, one more piece, she even decided to give the court a bit of a character, I guess, documentation. She wrote a handwritten letter saying what it is that she's about, who she really is, and how this just isn't befitting of someone like her who is a grandmother. So here's her handwritten letter. I'll read to you guys from a little bit what it is, because who writes in cursive anymore? I write this letter to you today with sincerest humility and regret. I'm a 53-year-old, soon-to-be grandma for the first time from a small town in southern Indiana. I'm a God-fearing, country-loving, law-abiding, hard-working patriot. A God-fearing, country-loving, law-abiding, hard-working patriot that decided to run up to the Capitol. I have attended several of President Trump's events without incident. On January 6th, I was in DC for the rally. It was my first trip ever to our nation's capital. She went on, but then this is the best part at the end. I'm not and never have been a violent individual, nor have I ever vandalized anything in my entire life. My intention that day was to support, not to cause any kind of trouble.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you are up on criminal charges, calling yourself law-abiding, a bit ironic. Well, we're adjudicating that, aren't we? When you break into the Capitol and try to overthrow the US government, not normally what we put under the rubric of law-abiding. But remember, for right-wingers, all the classic things apply, right? One is, no. When I say law-abiding, I mean I'm above the law and you're not. You should go to jail for whatever you're doing if you're a minority, or you're not in my particular community, or you're poor. But me, jail's not for me. I'm law-abiding. Even when I break the law, I'm law-abiding because, hello, I'm white and a right-winger. And I'm from Indiana. I don't get it.
Small town.
Right, small town, God-fearing. You can't go rob a bank and be like, no, it's okay. I'm law-abiding.
I've never robbed a bank before.
Yeah, but you're robbing me right now. I know, but I'm God-fearing. What does that have to do with you putting a gun to my head and taking all my money? Okay.
She's a grandma, Cenk.
Oh, a grandma.
That's right.
My bad. Of course, grandmas have never broken the law. But now let's talk about the standard that she's trying to apply. First of all, well, I can't go to prison. There's COVID in there. Can everyone use that excuse? Because there is, it's true. There's tons of COVID in the prisons, over 500,000 cases. So should we let everybody out? My guess is if you asked her, she'd be like, oh, no. Look at them. They're all criminals. They're not from small towns in Indiana. They're not law-abiding like me.
And definitely not patriots.
Yeah. But they, guys, you think like this is a comical excuse. No, they genuinely believe it. And Rayvana, that's what it is. It's entitlement. It's like big flashing neon sign, entitlement. I'm allowed to do whatever I want, and I'm allowed to stuff all you guys in jail for smoking pot or whatever other thing we invented to keep you caged up.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, she's so concerned about COVID now, but I promise, and I'm willing to bet everything I own and all $3 in my bank account on that she did not cross her mind during the January 6th insurrection when she was in a sea of unmasked chuds breathing directly into her face that, hey, maybe I could get COVID here. She didn't care then. This is just, all cap now. But this story is a pretty good opportunity to talk about the injustices that the incarcerated population was forced to endure during the pandemic. 400,000 incarcerated individuals in the first 15 months of the pandemic tested positive for COVID. Almost 3,000 of those individuals died, and it wasn't avoidable. The prison systems were informed that they had to put mitigating measures in effect, like social distancing and mask wearing and providing other forms of PPE, and they didn't. They failed, at least to do it in a timely manner. And because of that failure, people contracted COVID. They got long-term side effects of COVID, and some of them died of COVID. But we can look at the numbers and see a massive plummet in the amount of COVID deaths in prisons once they introduced the vaccine. So if she's really worried about this, which she's not, she should just get vaccinated. And maybe she can't. I don't know what her doctor's on, if she's even seen her doctor, but it would go a long way into protecting her once she goes behind bars.
Maybe she was seeing her doctor in between Facebook posts right after January 6th when she left, because the prosecution apparently knew that she was going to come with this capital defense, that she's never done anything in her life, and that she's totally remorseful, and oh my God, I'm a grandmother, and law-abiding, and was other parts, a patriot, and from a small town. Let's go to some of those things that they did point out also in these proceedings. In the federal complaint against Ms. Bissey, a number of Facebook posts are quoted, including a photo captioned, "Inside Capitol Building." She was very proud about that. She also, in response to a comment on the same post asking if she went into the building, Ms. Bissey responds, "Yes, ma'am!" exclamation point. Probably in the first group of 100 to 200 people, picking glass out of my purse.
This is comical. I mean, it's like you go back to the bank robber analogy, right? Inside the bank, like with like ski mask on and the gun, right? And then she's like picking the dollar bills that I stole out of my purse. I mean, saying you're among the first 100 or 200 means you were the ones who broke in. You're like the most guilty of all of them.
And glass in your purse. It only broke when it was getting broken into your purse. There's more. After posting that she was in a hallway and not the rotunda or any of the offices, she adds, "Best effing day ever. I'll never forget. We got into the Capitol building. I'll never forget." And lastly, the federal complaint also includes extensive screenshots or further posts and comments that she had, because she was commenting on other people that posted things and maybe tagged her, or then they said, "Oh, was well, you know her first name, was Donna there? And let's jump in." And so she's like, "Oh, sure thing, I was there, girl." So it's just, it's 1 minute you're remorseful and you're like, "Oh man, I can't believe that this happened to me. You guys are doing this, these extra these convictions and these harsher sentences on me. Don't you know I have to get back to my brand new grandchild? Hey, you gotta think of things before you do it. It's the age-old thing that I hear all the time from these folks who are tough on crime. If you can't do the time, do not do the crime." It's just, I remember that from when I was a kid.
Yeah, and how many times have you heard, you can't trust these criminals, the things that they say in court? Well, in this case, it might apply. So Ravana made a great point too. When they're doing the riot, and apparently she's at the head of the pack and bragging about it, remember they were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence." At that point, she's getting showered with spittle of all the least vaccinated, most least mask wearing people in the country. And at that point, she ain't worried about her liver at all. Okay, she's like, "Yes, hang Mike Pence." She's showering, like, right? And then she gets in the court, and all of a sudden she found her liver. She's like, "Oh, my liver! Oh man, no, I got the liver issues, man. I can't go in there and get vaccinated, and that's why I can't go to prison." So I don't believe her. I don't believe her at all. And you can't tell me that you're not gonna get vaccinated and that's why you shouldn't go to prison, because then it might put you in danger. What did you guys think happened in prisons? That's the thing, right? Is you were stuffing your fellow Americans into prisons at record rates, millions of people for nonsense crime, so-called crimes like smoking pot. What did you think happened inside prisons? At that point, you relished it, like, "Oh, well, hey, somebody's gotta get tough on crime. Oh, well, there's prison rape, whatever, deal with it. You shouldn't have done the crime. Now they do a crime, oh, my liver. Oh, I can't go in there. You know how tough it is inside prisons? Well, thank you for noticing, because again, that's another right-wing component. Me. I don't care if it affects you. I kind of like it when it affects you, right? But it affects me? Prisons, what name so? I didn't know anything about this. So it's just absolutely hilarious. Like, it's both hilarious and absurd. Super last thing for me. She's like, "It's already hurt my business." I mean, you try to overthrow the US government and it hurts your business. I mean, nobody knew that. Haven't I suffered enough?
It's outrageous. And by the way, at least I heard that they've got extra bootstraps and personal responsibility in prison. Maybe she can pick a little bit of that up if she gets there. By the way, my prediction is she's gonna get let off. I don't know.
I feel
just because I don't trust that this will go out the right way.
And the reason why you're probably right, JR, is because judges empathize with people who look and they think are kind of like them. You get a young person who's poor, they can't empathize with them at all. And they're like, that looks like a criminal. Yeah, you're going away a long time. She wonders, oh golly gee, my liver from the south, from the small town in Indiana. Judge is like, yeah, I got an aunt just like that. Oh, poor girl, poor lady, let her off. Okay, who's the next black person? You're okay, guilty. And it's not too far off from how our system actually works. All right, we got to take the. Did you want to say something else, Rima?
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to say that I do feel a little bad for her now because we have a vaccine against COVID, but there's no vaccine for stupidity.
Yeah,
we're working on it.
Yeah. She takes a picture. Inside stupid. Among the first 100 people in. Okay. All right, guys. Now we got to take the break. We still look. There's so many great stories in this hour. We're still going to go after Chappelle. Oh, that's drums. Trump being more racist. I know. Brace yourself. But how is the question? And then my favorite story. Mike Flynn has QAnon turn on him. It is awesome. All right, we'll be back.
You know, old school's pitched to me from Jake. It'll just be me, you, Jesus, Ben, and maybe Michael. And we're like, okay, cool. I can do that every week. As you can see, me, Jesus, Ben.
When you make the order, it says, don't exceed $20.01. So I'll just order literally anything to get it as close to that as I possibly can.
I'm sorry that I ordered $45 worth of food and got an email saying, sir, would you like to rethink that? What are you talking about?
I was in hell. I was just like, oh my God, the theater's empty, nobody's here. Everyone on screen keeps fucking cursing. Why did I let this happen? And the whole thing looks like it was shot through a glass of milk. My mom's gonna be so mad.
If you're looking for a heart attack, the short way, baby.
Wrong. I did put mayonnaise on it. I'm the most in shape, overweight person you'll find.
That's right.
He was like, why didn't you answer my call? I called you 39 times.
Yuck.
But what makes you stop right before 40? You know, what makes you say, nah, man, I ain't doing that no more. I'm cool.
And I called you back on the air. And I was like, okay, Kevin Smith, big shot. What the you said you'd come on and you didn't come on.
I'm sure I took that very well.
Yeah, you did. You called me back the next day and said, I thought it was 7 a.m. There's now deep fake porn. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
Heard of it? I just had some in the car.
I'll tell you who I'm not Ben Mankiewicz. Have you guys ever felt that?
Not ever.
And now it's just the three of us.
This is the intimate hour.
By the way, the last half hour of this, we're not even rolling.
Fair enough.
Easily.
See, I watch movies.
I'm done with both of you.
Once Greg starts laughing, I can't stop. And I was just gonna ask you about getting high.
Snoogans, Snoochie Boochies. And members, of course, you can get the whole damn thing. TYT.com, join and free trial. I'm old school with the old folks.
Good.
John, come back.
Field goal here. It's time to switch to beer.
Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Do your best.
He's a little like
Oh. No one's happy now.
Give him another try.
Oh.
Wow. This is the weirdest game.
I'm Brett. I would like to refer to this segment as the Do I Still Have This Talent show. So I want to see if I can play harmonica without my hands. I don't know why I have that. Nothing's gonna be more impressive than that. I can also spin a basketball on my finger. While drinking. I'm gonna spin a basketball on my finger while drinking apple juice. You can do this, dude. It's also flat. I don't know if that helps or hurts. And it seems to be somewhat wobbly. Ta-da! Nope, I don't know how to do this one. This one's a fail. Nope. Oh God, I'm so mad.
right, back on TYT, Cenk, JR, and Ray Vana. JR has news, we have reactions, go.
Yes. Former President Donald Trump has been sitting there watching TV, theoretically reading the news, and not having anything he can say about it on a large enough platform since he's been suspended from Twitter and isn't really invited to many places. So he called up his buddy Sean Hannity and said, I'd like to say something bigoted and racist. And Sean Hannity said, sure, come on down. Let's hear what he had to say.
And there's one other thing that nobody talks about. So we have hundreds of thousands of people flowing in from Haiti. Haiti has a tremendous AIDS problem. AIDS is a step beyond. AIDS is a real bad problem. So hundreds of thousands of people are coming into our country. And if you look at the stats, if you look at the numbers, if you look at, just take a look at what's happening in Haiti, a tremendous problem with AIDS. Many of those people will probably have AIDS and they're coming into our country and we don't do anything about it. We let everybody come in. Sean, it's like a death wish. It's like a death wish for our country.
It's only been a majority this year that we have been having to hear Donald Trump every day and say things, but that was another instance of him tipping his lack of knowledge on something. Anytime he starts talking about something, he's trying to convince you that he knows. He'll go, if you look at the numbers, if you look at the situation, if you look at it, if you look at it, if you look at it. He says if you look at it 3 or 4 to 5 to 6 to 10 times, he hasn't looked at it and he has no idea what it is. And they also say, anybody who sees it will agree. Anybody who sees it will say this. It's these tactics of pushing people's minds into thinking this guy's right, because he looked at it. I have to look at it, but until I do, he's right. So obviously he didn't look at it because we're looking at it here. According to the UN AIDS estimates, just in last year, 2020, it has this graph and this arc of the prevalence of HIV and AIDS cases in Haiti, specifically in Haiti in this particular part. Percentage of population ages 15 to 49, which I would say that's about that age range you see coming in there with folks at the border. In 2020, it was down to 1.9% of the population there in that age range that is dealing with HIV/AIDS there. So as he said, it's overwhelming. They have a huge, major, outrageous problem with HIV/AIDS there. And once they come to America, they're gonna bring HIV to America because we don't it's not here. That doesn't happen. And so this is the racism that he likes to push and pull. And he's like, oh my God, black immigrants. Oh my God, they're from Haiti, so that means everyone's got AIDS. That's where his mindset is. That's where that's his comfort zone. That's where he sits. Anytime he sees a particular group that he dislikes, like let's go to what he talked about with Puerto Ricans when they were hit by Hurricane Maria, I believe. So let's go to that graphic really quickly. So he tweeted this, and it's no longer available, of course, because he's gone. Such poor leadership ability by the mayor of San Juan, this is in Puerto Rico, of course, and others in Puerto Rico who are not able to get their workers to help. This is for the cleanup efforts and fixing things. They want everything to be done for them when it should be a community effort. 10,000 federal workers now on island doing a fantastic job. So if you don't remember, this is the situation when he was having that fight back and forth with the mayor of San Juan, and when he was tossing paper towels at folks, and then when he said they don't know how to fix their own province territory because they should just kind of do it on their own. And when he shows up and he does a press conference or he does a round table and sits around and talks, that's all the help he needs to give. They're too lazy while he's the one who sits there and then breaks records on golfing while he was in office. That's his brand of racism.
Yeah, so I got one more clip for you guys, but I love what JR is saying because it's true. His racism is not only apparent, but it's also frozen in time. It's frozen in time in like the 1980s and 90s where he formed his racism and it never changed it. There was a AIDS surge in Haiti in the 1980s and 90s? Well, that's it, all Haitians have AIDS. I mean, what a comically stupid man, let alone mean and offensive and all those things. Puerto Ricans? Oh, I heard that they're lazy. Well, they can't fix their own problems. They gotta have other people do their work for them. Okay, how about Jews? Well, there's racism and anti-Semitism and bigotry for everybody. So this is him talking to Jewish Republicans. Listen to what he says.
A lot of you are in the real estate business because I know you very well. You're brutal killers, not nice people at all, but you have to vote for them. You have no choice. You're not going to vote for Pocahontas, I can tell you that. I'm a negotiator like you folks. We're negotiators. Do you want to renegotiate deals? Some of us renegotiate deals. I would say about 99.9. Is there anybody that doesn't renegotiate deals in this room? This room negotiates. I want to renegotiate this room. Perhaps more than any room I've ever spoken to. Maybe more. It's okay. I've been called on that a couple of times too. You're not going to vote for the wealth tax. You just like me because my daughter happens to be Jewish. Right? Even if you don't like me, some of you don't. Some of you I don't like at all, actually. And you're going to be my biggest supporters because you'll be out of business in about 15 minutes if they get it. So I don't have to spend a lot of time on that. We have to get the people of our country, of this country, to love Israel more. I have to tell you that. We have to do it. We have to get them to love Israel more because you have people that are Jewish people, that are great people. They don't love Israel enough. You know that.
I mean, he's unbelievable. He's like, I mean, you Jews, you like to renegotiate, perhaps more than any other room. And you have to vote for me because all you care about is money. And then, by the way, some of the sons of bitches in the room are laughing, right? You sellout clowns of the earth. By the way, none of this is true. Jewish Americans vote reliably Democratic almost more than any other group besides African Americans. About 70% in national elections vote for Democrats and voted against Trump. But in his racist and bigoted mind, he's like, Jews like money, they will all vote for me. Okay, I mean, they go back on their word all the time. You know how they are, the Jews, right? The Haitians have AIDS. The Puerto Ricans are lazy. The Jews like money. Like, come on. I mean, it's so over the top. And let alone, of course, when it comes to black people in America, the Central Park Five, where they were acquitted, they didn't do anything wrong. It turns out there was another guy, we found his DNA. There's no question it was the other guy. They must have done something. Why? Because they're black and Latino, young people in Central Park. You know how the blacks are, they always doing something. They're always doing some crime. His racism is over the top. It's outrageous. And then you talk to right wingers, oh, I don't see it. You know why they don't see it? Because they're thinking the same goddamn thing.
His racism is truly boundless, and just the way in which he is incapable of not blurting out every racist, intrusive thought he has is impeccable, but like disgustingly impeccable. But he's also extremely xenophobic. And in that Fox News clip, he said, we're just letting anyone into this country. But I worked in immigration law last summer, particularly with asylum seekers. Almost all my clients were asylum seekers, and it's just lying. It's full on lie, all bull, because his administration systemically undermined the ability for people to migrate here legally and made the process extraordinarily difficult. I mean, he enacted the horrifically named Migrant Protection Program, which is also the Remain in Mexico policy that forces every migrant that comes to the US border with Mexico, regardless of if they're what country they're from. So they're making people who are from Haiti or from Brazil who might not speak Spanish stay in a country that they're not from, that they're unfamiliar with the language of, maybe the culture of as well, in extraordinarily dangerous situations. And we've seen so much violence in these encampments, and we've seen a lot of sex trafficking. He also has Title 42, which Biden has used to deport these Haitian asylum seekers, these Haitian migrants, without due process. But even more than that, the way in which the administration, with laser precision, reorganized the immigration processes, made them as inefficient as possible. When you file for asylum, you have no idea when you're going to have your hearing, when you're going to have your interview. You don't know, your attorney doesn't know. Could be months, it could be years. I had a client who filed in 2018, she's still waiting. She's still waiting to be called for her interview. And she's sitting in limbo like so many other people who were seeking legal asylum. So, Trump is extraordinarily racist, xenophobic, but he's also a prolific liar, dog-faced pony soldier.
That's awesome. All right, I gotta say a bunch of other things. By the way, if we're looking to ban people that have AIDS, which we should not be, okay, but if that's Trump and Hannity's standards, 4 out of the top 10 cities in America that have the highest AIDS cases and HIV cases are in Florida. Okay, 4 out of the top 10. Guess who else is in Florida? Oh, Donald Trump. I guess we got to ban people from Florida. I guess, they got AIDS. What can we do? Now, how insane does it sound when you say it about Florida? Why does it sound less insane if it does to you and to Trump when it's about Haiti? I wonder why. So, and by the way, every part of his racism is projection. So Jews like to renegotiate. He went bankrupt 6 times and renegotiated his debt. No one has renegotiated more than Donald Trump, but he blames Jews for it. Lazy, he golfed 64 times in the first 9 months because Republicans were complaining about Biden doing it 10 times. He did it 64 times in the first 9 months. He's the laziest son of a bitch. You remember the executive time where he'd sit around watching Fox News and they're like, well, that kind of is working, right?
I forgot.
Okay, he's the laziest person in America. And then he's like, oh, Haitians have AIDS. Dude, you were raw dogging porn stars. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. I don't know what you have. I don't know if your rage is syphilitic or not, okay? But you're in no position to talk about people getting sexually transmitted diseases. And then finally, if we're kicking people out based on immigration issues, Melania Trump clearly worked here before she had papers. That is illegal, and hence she should have never gotten the papers in the first place. She is, at the time, she was an undocumented immigrant breaking the laws of this country. And everybody goes, oh, no, come on, you can't touch her, she's white. I mean, the president's wife, rich, wait, why doesn't the law apply to her? I don't get it. Which then would make, and hold on to your seats because everybody in mainstream media is about to lose their mind. That would make Barron Trump an anchor baby. Okay, now you're gonna say you can't say that about Barron Trump. Okay, that's his kids, right? Well, you say it about black kids all the time. You say it about brown kids nonstop. You say it about Asian kids. So it's okay to say it about other people's kids, but you can't say it about Melania Trump and Barron Trump because that would be mean. Well, why is it okay to be mean to minorities? That's because you're racist. Thank you, I thought so. There's no other reason.
My very last thought, the basis for these types of clownish, cartoonish style tropes is just to make it a normal level of conversation. So it doesn't have to have a full connection to it. So again, HIV, AIDS. So every Haitian's coming in has AIDS. How is it transmitted? Needles, sexual fluids, all those types of things, right? How is that then gonna destroy the entire country? If everybody from Haiti has AIDS, everybody's having sex with every Haitian that comes in, everyone's sharing needles and they're all drug addicts. All these assumptions would have to be added on to that sentence. So therefore, it's getting spread throughout the country because everyone's interacting with bodily fluids to the degree with all these Haitians that all have AIDS, and now the country is teeming with AIDS patients. That's the back end of this assumption you have to make, but you don't really think about that part of it. All you think is, oh my God, those scary black folks. And they're from another country too. Oh my God, even worse kind of black folks. They all have AIDS, and it ends there.
Super last thing on it, guys. Saying that immigrants are dirty and diseased is the oldest form of racism and bigotry there is. Every authoritarian, dictatorial government that did atrocities first called people non-human, diseased, and dirty. Tucker Carlson does it nightly, and this is Donald Trump doing it in the case of Haiti. All right, we gotta take a break. My favorite story about Mike Flynn and having QAnon turn on him because he might be a Luciferian. You're gonna love it. We're coming back with that.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one.
Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to big pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor, or concern for whose toes we might step on, or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
How in the world are you going to get the right to vote if you don't already have the right to vote? That's impossible. Reason they tell you things are impossible is because they don't want you to try. It only took 7 years for that to get an amendment to get a right to vote.
Does this result in millions upon millions of Americans losing their coverage? And we've been waiting to find out, and now we know, yes, it will cut millions.
Public education was supposed to be the way to equalize everyone regardless of their socioeconomic status. But if you come from a family that's poor, how are you going to afford grade school for your kids?
This fight is about fairness and morality. It's about the American values.
You think that black people all across the country, in every city, were all lying when they said the police abuse us and the police kill us when they should? No, of course they weren't lying. Yes, it does happen. Yes, they do get targeted more.
Why are we going to put immigrants in prison for 5 years, which American taxpayers have to pay for, if we're so concerned with immigrants using up our so-called resources?
We're gonna do both. We're gonna fight Trump and we're gonna fight the establishment. It is not that hard. Yes, you can do both at the same time. Go tell them.
ShopTYT.com has new shirts like this one. And you're thinking, Cenk, what is that one? I can't see it other than the black. Yes, so I'll show it to you. If you can read this, you're not practicing social distancing. Yes! Now, you were practicing social distancing. This is over video. But overall, you get it. ShopTYT.com.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk, JR, and Ravana. JR's got news. I have reactions. She has reactions. So let's go forward.
Go. Former Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, he's used to cozying up with QAnon folks and pushing some conspiracy theories and advocating for overthrow of governments, things like that. I mean, he sold T-shirts with them, fundraised with them, spoke at one of their conferences, all these things, but he's really, really inside their community. And, good for him. He's found his people. There's just one problem. Despite all those efforts and everything he's doing, he has now found himself on the wrong side of a conspiracy theory that they are now pushing towards him. Now, this all happened, let's go straight to the Daily Beast article about this. This all started on September 17th when he led a congregation at Nebraska Pastor Hank Kinnaman's Lord of Hosts Church in prayer. Flynn's prayer included invocations to, quote, sevenfold raise and legions, two phrases that struck some of Flynn's followers as strange. Let's listen to that prayer really quick now.
We are your instrument of those sevenfold raised and all your archangels, all of them. We will not retreat. We will not retreat. We will stand our ground. We will not fear to speak. We will be the instrument of your will. Whatever it is. In your name. And the name of your legions. We are freeborn.
Legions and sevenfold deities or something. So that stuck out to a few people who were like, wait a second. Old Mike. More from the Daily Beast. As video of this prayer circulated online, conspiracy theorist groups, the references to legions and rays, as I pointed out, soon sparked speculation among Flynn's right-wing supporters that their hero had been lured into the dark side. Always on the lookout for satanic influence that they imagine lurks at the heart of the world. They claim that Flynn had secretly been worshiping the devil. Worse, since the congregation was repeating the prayer after Flynn, the rumor went, and he had duped hundreds of Christians into joining into this ritual. Now all of them are all Satanists because they repeated it after him. It's just immediate. Now you're a Satanist. It's too late. Now you got to go and start like drinking blood, or I'm not sure what they're saying Satanists do. But now they're all on board, and that sucks. Now he had to respond to this. He did go on a show. It's called Truth Unveiled with my man Paul Obel. And he was asked about the situation. And Michael Flynn just couldn't figure out why these folks are coming at him. Let's listen.
A lot of people in the Christian world believe that when you pray to rays of light and legion, you're praying to the devil. And so I even saw a show the other day saying, Mike's flipped on the side of the devil. Can you please explain what happened there, sir?
Yeah, so I find it actually pretty funny. But I know that a lot of people, they read so much into this stuff. When I get up that morning and I felt, when I finish my talk, I want to finish with a prayer, and I was thinking about what should I say, and I carry with me this little card, and on that card is the prayer to Saint Michael the Archangel. So I basically gave a rendition of that prayer, and that's really what this whole thing is about. So all these people that talk about turning to whatever, that get off that. Quit. People need to stop overthinking what everybody is saying and listen to what is happening around us. Listen and pay attention to the reality that is happening around us, instead of worrying about in this case, worrying about and interpreting things that don't need interpretation.
People need to just stop with this reading into everything people say. It's not based on reality. Who are these people that keep coming up with these random things that don't mean anything? Says the guy who just told us that they're sprinkling the COVID vaccine all over your salads and your salad dressings. These people need to stop coming up with these random things that don't make any sense. Just find some reality, Jay.
I can't love this story any more than I do. So this is the guy who is the main proponent of QAnon among what used to be credible circles. He was the national security advisor for Donald Trump. He was a lieutenant general in the United States military. He had a senior role in the Obama administration. This guy is a full-blown lunatic. Totally believes in QAnon. He led another gathering in an oath to QAnon. Now he's shocked and chagrined to find out QAnon doesn't make sense when it turns out they come after him. Oh no, I was trying to get you guys to go after the Democrats and my political opponents, and I wanted your lunacy directed in that direction, right? But now you're gonna turn and misinterpret things against me? Oh, Mike, that's such a tough break that you caught there. Lie down with lunatics, wake up with lunatics. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Lunatics, okay. Anyways, seriously guys though, all of it is crazy. And then some of you might get offended at this, but there's no Beelzebub. And if you do magic incantations, he doesn't appear in your soul and take you over and lead you down to a basement in a pizza shop. It's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like, here, I'll say legions. People have said legions 1 billion times. What the hell does that mean? That's like, how could, it's a word in the English dictionary. Is Merriam-Webster part of Satan? It's in the dictionary. I can't begin to get, it's so crazy. I can't believe that people believe any of this, but tens of millions of Americans believe this.
I love how Michael Flynn always talks like he is a student who forgot that he had to do a book report that day. He was up on that stage saying the prayer like, and the rays, and some legions as well, and all of the archangels. Just like clearly just making it up on the spot. But I feel like the phrase "there's no honor among thieves" it just fits so perfectly when it comes to the cult of conservatism. We saw 4 years of Trump holding up like his newest advisors saying, "Oh, this person's awesome. They're fantastic." But if that person dared to speak anything that could be construed as even the mildest of criticisms of Trump, he's tossing him aside like one of his old McDonald's rappers. And this happening to Michael Flynn just goes to show that it's not just Trump that does this; it's all the far right conspiracy theorists and grifters. But I do want to point out, you don't see this happen among progressives. Not to this extent, at least, because we're actually fighting for something we believe in. We're not a cult of conspiracy that is built around lies and puts the most prominent grifters up on a pedestal and then devours them when they say the wrong biblical terms. So just stories like these just make me feel really grateful for the people that the progressive people around me who I get to fight alongside.
Yeah, of course you would say that because one of the magic words is sevenfold rays, and your name is Ray Vana. I'm
confirmed Satanist.
Right. No, but guys, it is amazing. It really is. Like, we're joking around about this. And when we joke about confirmed Satanists or whatever, there's a bunch of lunatics, tons of lunatics in the country who are like, "Oh, they said it must be true. They are working with Beelzebub. I don't know if they have a tail and horns, but they are going to take over." And they believe that people do the worst things. I mean, and I'm getting serious for a second. They think it's a satanic cult that eats children. Now, what would you do to save children if you thought there was people that were killing them, drinking their blood, and eating them? I know I'd do pretty extreme things to stop that if it was real, right? And they get these tens of millions of deranged people all amped up on our political opponents are literally eating babies. You have to go stop them. What are you going to talk to them about? Reconciliation and the parliamentarian and the infrastructure bill? Who the hell would be talking about the infrastructure bill if you really believed the other side was eating babies? Like if you said to me, one of the Democrats, let's say I agree with the infrastructure bill that, pick a random, sorry, Pat Leahy. Okay, Senator Leahy came up with. But if I thought Senator Leahy ate babies, I wouldn't vote for it because I don't want to help a guy who's doing horrific murder and cannibalism, etc. And guys, for the rest of us that live in the real world, the rational world, it's hard for us to understand. That's why we think this story is funny. But to them, they're really worried. Oh my God! It turns out Flynn was a Satanist, and they didn't see Satan is so smart. He put in Flynn to agree with us on everything. And then to tell us about the sevenfold rays and the legions. Oh, it must be Flynn. And Flynn's like, no, it's not me, it's them. And these are the people we're having a debate with in theoretically the most developed nation in the history of Earth. Oh my God, we're still cavemen in the year 2021. This is purely lunatic drivel. That's what it is. But am I happy that they turned on Flynn? I am ecstatic about it. So good luck now trying to get yourself out of it, Flynn, because it's all gobbledygook anyway. And if it's, it's like the old the witch trials. All right, well, you can prove you're not a witch by dying. Okay, go ahead, prove that you're not a Satanist, Mike Flynn. I challenge you. You're not gonna be able to do it. And guess what? The only good news for you, Mike Flynn, is the people accusing you of being a Satanist now, they're gonna get accused tomorrow. And you guys are gonna go round and round until, ironically, you eat your own and we're done with you.
It reminds me of that old joke that's the woman who voted for Tigers ripping your face off party is shocked that tigers have ripped her face off.
Okay, we're almost out of time. Let's do the last one.
Yes, really fast. A North Carolina state the lawmaker is asking for the lieutenant governor of the state, name is Mark Robinson, to resign after he had some startling comments to say about the LGBTQ plus community. Let's listen to what he had to say.
I'm saying this now, and I've been saying it, and I don't care who likes it. Those issues have no place in a school. There's no reason anybody anywhere in America should be telling any child about transgenderism, homosexuality, any of that filth. And yes, I called it filth. And if you don't like it that I called it filth, come see me and I'll explain it to you.
He's gonna do a lot of explaining. So Senator Jeff Jackson, who was calling for the resignation, here's his tweet. North Carolina's Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson just angrily referred to the LGBTQ community as, quote, filth. Then he says, yes, I called it filth. There's no debate here. This is open discrimination. It is completely unacceptable. Mark Robinson should resign. And also the governor agreed with him. We won't go to the details, but I did want to read Robinson's spokesperson and what he did say about it. Topics surrounding transgenderism and homosexuality should be discussed at home and not in public education, because apparently he was talking about whether or not this is being taught in schools. We must focus on reading, writing, and mathematics in North Carolina. Our students have struggled with these topics even before the pandemic. Our primary focus needs to be on helping our students succeed, not on topics that should be discussed at home.
Yeah, that's not what he said. He said it was filth. We heard him, we just played the tape for you guys. And should we also not teach that in America, we're all supposed to have equal rights? Because, oh my God, if homosexuals have the same rights as heterosexuals, well, that would be the American thing to do. So don't teach that, because that's filth. Equality is filth. The same rights for every human being in America is filth, according to this guy and according to almost all Republicans. To be fair, some of the younger Republicans are like, oh, okay, wait, I don't hate gay people anymore, but corporations do need tax cuts, come on. But for older Republicans, they almost all completely agree with them. And it's disgusting, and it's definitely homophobia, bigotry, etc. Rayvon.
Yeah, as a member of the filth community, I just want to say, I'll take him up on his offer. Explain it to me, Mark. Explain how you justify your bigotry towards an entire section of the population, some of whom you represent in your state. Explain to me why queer kids shouldn't be taught their history in school, not just their history of fighting for their civil rights in this country, but their history throughout time. Because I'm sorry, sir, but the gay community did not just sprout out of nowhere to make you feel uncomfortable and to give you conservative talking points to pitch to your wealthy donors. Gay people, trans people, gender nonconforming people have existed throughout all human history and across cultures. So it's just very disgusting to me to see someone speak like this from, he is a person of authority. I also just want to quickly say, hate isn't good for you. You're unhealthy, or it causes health problems. And when you pass away, I don't think that you're going to go through those pearly gates if that's what you're banking on.
Yeah, it's not complicated. If you love America, you believe in equality. If you don't believe in equality, you don't really like this country, and you should go elsewhere. All right, we got to go, but for the members, giant bonus episode. We're going to take on Dave Chappelle, Hunter Biden. You guys are going to love it, giant. TYT.com/join. Hit the join button below on YouTube. We'll see you there in a minute.